election, Kwankwaso got almost 1 million votes in Kano. That vote is not in Abagida's pocket. They can vote for him as an individual. That doesn't necessarily mean they are going to vote for Tinubu in an election, because he's an in-law to Kwankwaso as a person. I am sure regardless how you see it, he will still be good to members of the Kwankwaso Sia movement. So that can guarantee him his personal victory. But the 2027 election, there are a lot of dynamics that has to be taken into consideration when you are looking at defection here, defection there. If P2B is on the ballot, what effect with Anubadi campaign in Enugu you have on the Igbo votes? They will still go and vote for P2B, regardless where Uba might win the election for himself. That is his own election. So if you're looking at it from a national perspective, I agree with Dr. Ralph Aregbesola that yes, the campaign is not going to help the president in his quest for a second term unless things change or they are not ready to conduct a free and fair election.
Okay, let's look at the ADC factor. What would that do to APC? And like yesterday, my guest was saying that PDP cannot completely be written off, because if the Jonathan factor also comes in at the end of the day for PDP, then there is also going to be a big problem for the APC at the end of the day. So how do you rate the opposition, and what exactly do you think? What sort of collateral damage, if there's any, would they wreak upon the APC, or what is their position? What's your permutation with that?
I think there will be opposition. Let's leave PDP, ADC, or whatever I want to call it out. There will be an opposition movement, because there are a lot of landmines on the part of the PDP. There are landmines on the part of the ADC. There are legal cases going on here and there. And you know how the judiciary works in Nigeria. We can continue to shout that it's independent, but the judgment that is coming from there, they are not independent. So we cannot sit here and tell you that the ADC, there won't be an effort to scuttle whatever is happening in the ADC using the judiciary. Definitely the only obstacle to the ADC today is the judiciary. And the only obstacle to the PDP is definitely the judiciary.
How do you mean? When you say the judiciary, what exactly do you mean by that? Well,
we have seen the judgments that is coming out of the courts. They are vague. They are not clear. They create more confusion where they want to create confusion. There is a school of thought that if Peter Obi was still in Labour Party, the court would not have ruled that Nenadi Usman is the authentic chairman of the Labour Party. As Peter left, they have now decided to rule that Nenadi Usman is the authentic leader. But they've been battling this thing for so long, to the extent that the Labour Party cannot even present candidates for election. We have the same scenario with the PDP. We have the so-called wicked fashion of PDP. Of course, we know that there was a national convention in Ibadan. We know a national ESCO emerged in Ibadan. But INEC has turned full circle to say they are waiting for judgments of the court. If the High Court rules tomorrow, the case is going on appeal. If the appeal court rules tomorrow, the Supreme Court is still there. Going by the present Electoral Act, all primary election must have been concluded by 29th of May. We are not going to finish that case from the Supreme Court before 29th of May. So nobody will want to take the risk with the PDP to run an election. They put your name on the ballot, and after winning, like what happened in Zamfara, the court will now rule that your party did not present candidate. It happened in Plateau recently when they ruled in the same vein for House of Assembly, House of Rep, and Senate election before the Supreme Court upturned that decision for the governorship election. But those that their cases stopped at the appeal court, they lost their seats. As at the time the Supreme Court ruled that the governor should remain, that they had authentic leadership in place, they had removed these people and there was no way to remedy the situation. That was how the former Minister of Labour and former Governor of Plateau State, Lalong, had to go back to the Senate. It was the appeal court that did that. So we have fear with the we also put in our electoral law a timeline to which all cases must be resolved before election, so that you don't go into an election with this uncertainty of which is the authentic fashion of a party or which is not. I think that is where the problem is. The ADC also has that cross to carry. Because as it stands today, the David Mark faction of the ADC is there, but there are other Dumebi Kachuku faction that are also in court, saying the process that led to David Mark taking over the ADC was not proper, was unconstitutional, and all of that. I'm sure this is the reason why some people are canvassing for an electoral tribunal, a standing tribunal, so that when you have cases like this, it goes to court and a hearing can come up every day until it is dispensed with. We don't even have to go into using our sitting judges. We have retired justices of the Supreme Court, of the Court of Appeal, and justices of the High Court that are retired, that you can bring in and form a tribunal that can be on standby, that can handle electoral matters, so that they can dispense those things as quickly as possible, that it doesn't become an impediment. But what I can tell you is that regardless the judgment that will come out from the court, Nigerians will converge under one umbrella to fight the APC. Because there are several political parties that will be willing to yield their platform for people to come. It doesn't take Peter Obi. As at this time in 2022, there was no Peter Obi yet. Peter Obi was still contemplating whether he was going to be in PDP. No, he was running in PDP. And then somewhere along the line, after the PDP delegate primaries, he alleged that Wike, who was then the governor of Rivers State, used, I think, Chris Uba, or one of the Uba brothers, to take all the delegates in his own Anambra State. So he realized that he has lost the PDP structure and decided to leave. And he became a movement. And we saw what the surprises he sprang up in that election. So I believe strongly that overnight, Nigerians will still converge somewhere and still give the ruling party a fight, because things are not working well. And they are not concentrating on governance. They are doing everything to suppress dissent, to destabilize opposition and all of that, so that they can continue in their comfort zone. And I don't think that is healthy for democracy.
Some people talked about, the U.S. factor going to play a big role in the Nigerian elections. Looking back at what happened to Goodluck Jonathan, it was said that the Barack Obama administration did not support Goodluck Jonathan, and so he played a very vital role in causing Goodluck Jonathan not to come back. So many people are of the opinion that this Trump administration, they don't see face to face with Tinubu. So what role do you think that plays? Then also making a comment about the $9 million allegedly paid, to lobby and all of that. I mean,
and I
how do you think?
That's where I was going straight.
The
Tinubu government is smarter than what Jonathan did. You know that the APC is more inclined to the Democrats, but they have to pay $9 million to a Republican lobbyist. So they are trying to persuade the Republicans to try and paint a better image of the APC government. They are not waiting. If Jonathan probably tried to do that with the Democrats who were in power then, because we saw Hillary Clinton visited Nigeria as Secretary of State and all of those stuffs then, and it was the APC people that were carrying her around and all of that. So the Tinubu government is smarter. They are not waiting to be taken by surprise by the Trump administration. They also know that Trump loves money. He's a businessman. he understands the language of money. He also understands the language of oil. And so even as at today, we have a refinery in Nigeria, the Dangote refinery, but they are taking crude from the U.S. So we produce the crude in Nigeria, but they are buying our crude, exporting our crude, and Nigeria is importing crude from US. So I'm sure Trump will be happy with all of that they are doing everything possible to frustrate Dangote, to make sure the American oil industry, so America can go and take oil from Venezuela and Dangote will go and take from them, and our own oil we produce here, we are looking for buyer in the international market. All those things are strategies by the Tinubu government to persuade the Trump administration, and I think it's going to somewhere along the line, have a role to play. Of course, you must have heard of this issue of Muslim tickets.
Yes,
the debate is already ongoing because they may want to or also impress Trump with that. They are considering several persons now.
Some Northern Christians
that they can bring in as to deputize the president to dissuade any fear of Christian marginalization.
All right.
But I don't think anybody is marginalized in Nigeria.
All right. Well, let's quickly take this commercial and then we will continue on the Big Three this evening. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us.
This.
Welcome back to your number one talk, news, and sports station. This is Nigeria Info.
Okay, welcome back. Thank you so much for staying. Well, we didn't have that commercial spot block in the first place. So, yes, you were on a point, or are you done with that?
Yeah, so I don't think with the Tinubu government, Christians can be said they are marginalized. That does not have anything to do with the Christian genocide. But of course, you know that Tinubu is not marginalizing anybody.
I don't think he's a religious bigot or an extremist.
Tinubu is not a religious bigot. He's not an extremist. He's just doing his normal thing. So whether it's Tinubu, Shetima, anybody, I don't think we will see any difference. Now we have the crisis of herdsmen and bandits and all of that.
Yeah.
That's different from the Tinubu's government. It's not an agenda. They are doing everything they can within. If it's within their power, I'm sure they're going to end the insurgency today. I was surprised today to see that Bello Turjid has registered as an APC member. I don't know if you have seen it as membership. I even have it in my phone. I'll show you after the program.
Wow.
Yes, he has registered with his NIN and all his details.
So what does that say about the APC, for God's sake?
It's not the party. It's somebody that is trying to play games to say that the guy is alive. You know, after the American bomb, there was this rumor that he has been taken out and all of that.
No, I mean, but we saw Bello Turji was one that evicted Sokoto communities now and all of that.
So he's there, he's alive. He's now a registered member of the APC.
I'm sure that must be some joke. I'm sure that must be some joke. Yeah.
And he's eligible to contest election now.
Wow.
I say it's
interesting.
Shinkafi local government is up for our state.
All right, Nigerians, I mean, you guys can bring out the baddest joke of the most serious situation. Anyway, let's move on. Yes, we have more stories. You can send in your contributions and your thoughts as we will be taking your comments and calls after this second story that will be taken. And it has to do with the military coup. Well, finally, though, Nigerian military has admitted that there was a coup. I mean, you remember at the height of the rumor, we know that behind every rumor there must be some element of truth, but it was kept under the covers. Nobody wanted to talk about it as though it was some sort of taboo. I don't know whether it came with a lot of shame for the government or what, but the defense headquarters said its finding identified a number of officers with allegations of plotting to overthrow the government. Okay. And it has finally confirmed the plan to illegally oust the administration of President Tinubu, saying the indicted officers will be arraigned before military judicial panels. The military said this in a statement signed by Samaila Uba, the spokesperson for the defense headquarters. Last October, Premium Times and so many other papers reported that 16 officers were being investigated for allegedly planning a coup, although the army claimed they were being investigated for indiscipline and breach of service regulation. That was how the military actually put it out, and not for coup. But it was reported that the officers were arrested and detained over an alleged coup plot against the administration of Tinubu. 14 of the 16 were from the Nigerian Army, and the remaining 2 were from the Navy and Air Force. And during the investigation, it was said that there was a revelation of the identities of some of the officers, and also it was gathered that more officers and civilians were later arrested in connection with the matter. I mean, I remember that former Bayelsa governor was also mentioned in the case, Timipre Silva. Okay. Now, the outcome of the investigation says that the defense headquarters in the statement said the investigation has been completed and forwarded to appropriate superior authority in line with extant regulation. It will be recalled that the Defense Headquarters issued a press statement in October 2025 regarding arrest of 16 officers over acts of indiscipline and breaches of service regulation. According to the military, the investigation was comprehensive and conducted in line with established procedures, examining all the circumstances surrounding the conduct of the affected personnel. It disclosed that the findings identified a number of the officers with allegations of plotting to overthrow the government and describing such conduct as inconsistent with ethics, values, and professional standards required of members of the Nigerian Armed Forces. It's a long one, though, but then they say that the Armed Forces remain resolute in maintaining the highest standards of professionalism, loyalty, and respect for constitutional authority. That is what the statement said. So, what's your comment on this?
Well, the Armed Forces is supposed to loyal to constituted authority, but individuals will always find a way to subvert the system. I think those in power have to be careful. Military coups became very popular in the Saharan sub-region recently because most of the surrounding countries are now being governed by the military, and that is because of bad leadership by those that we are democratically elected. That is not thinking about the people and not thinking of how to improve the living condition of the people. That's why you see that in those countries where we've experienced military coup, the people are happy. The people go on the street to jubilate. You can imagine if you have a military coup in Nigeria today and you say your fuel will now be sold at 300 naira, everybody will be happy in the military government to continue. But it's not the solution to our problem. We want our leaders to sit back and address the pressing issues. If people are complaining, know that it is because the economy is pinching them. It's not funny. People cannot pay their children's school fees. People cannot feed their families. People cannot even transport to work. You give people salary, even the government is paying people salary that cannot take them home. If you calculate your transport fare, your feeding, you don't have anything left to even buy food for your family.
Yeah.
Not to talk about the skyrocketing house rents in the urban centers. So those are the challenges people are facing, and that is what is causing this issue of some people in the military contemplating a coup. Don't forget that it was this same military coup rumor that consumed General Christopher Musa as Chief of Defense Staff.
Yeah.
It was because of that they removed him and they did some reshuffling in the military hierarchy. The only person that was left was the Director of Defense Intelligence, who I think was the one that busted this bubble. He's the one that was left on the seat. And so Christopher Kolade has now... Christopher Musa. Yes, Christopher Kolade is now ringing us. I think that's the foremost diplomat.
Yes.
Christopher Musa is now back as Minister of Defense. He has gone to drop the khaki at home and he has come back...
with his Babariga.
It's not even Babariga. Should I call that French suit? Wear a tie French suit and put a cap on it. So he's back. I hope they will face those things that is making anybody to even contemplate a coup. Because the military might be doing better than doing under the military. Okay, because the welfare of officers is better than it used to be. The military pension is more regular now. I think the democratic leaders are pampering them. But they also have people that are suffering. They have people who are dependent. They go to the same market. They go and buy things from the market. They have children in school. If you are earning a salary as a civil servant in Nigeria today, you cannot do the university.
Honestly.
Okay? So those are the need to tackle. Thank God they finally come out and say the military. There was a plan. It was a plan that they nipped in the bud. It wasn't executed. We never knew how they wanted to execute it and all of that. Yes, like you said, the name of Timi Presiva was mentioned. By the time it was, he has already escaped out of the country. But again, that also brings us to another chapter. They say that this will have been for a very long time, and they now want to set up a military court-martial or whatever they call it, to try them, but the civilians cannot be tried in the military court-martial. They cannot be tried. So what are they waiting for? They've not charged anybody to court. We want to see the charge sheet. We want to see the role each individual that they are played in the process.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a secret. If there is something like that, I think we all want to condemn military coup. We know that this democracy is not perfect, but things like this is actually a wake-up call for people to know that if you do anyhow, you could also see anyhow.
But why do you think this administration is going hush-hush about this and not actually?
Yes, at first.
Is there anything to hide?
Yes, there is so much to hide because they want to pretend that everything is well.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
They want to
Because when President Tinubu came, one of the first few actions he took that really attracted condemnation was, when Niger and was it Mali back then?
Yes.
And Burkina Faso had that coup thing, and then you told them they are no longer part of ECOWAS, and then somehow they now, at the end of the day, they said they didn't even want to be part of the ECOWAS and stuff like that. So people were saying, look, you need to tread carefully. You've just become the head of the ECOWAS instead of you to take this thing diplomatically and all. So could it be that he's now ashamed that same thing is now going to be like a stain on him or something?
Yeah, that could be part of it. He has bought time between October last year when this thing came up and now. It's been a while. So he's bought time. They've tried to calm the nerves of people. The panic that would have set in, or what you could even call a counter coup, because when you have a rumored coup like that, you don't know, there could be another set of people planning something somewhere. And when you pick these people, they could come from somewhere and strike. I'm sure they must have taken care of all of those stuffs at the background. Some people have been retired from the military. There are some promotion. There are some postings. With the new chief of army staff, because like you read, 14 of those people are from the army. We have a new chief of army staff who has done some reshuffling, moved people from command, from base, and all of that. So all those things have been taken care of. They can now come out and say, no, there was an attempted coup, or there was a planned coup in the offing. And then people can now see whether it's the right thing or the wrong thing. But I know for sure that my concern is not whether there was a coup or there was no coup. My concern is that the reason why somebody will even contemplate a coup in a democracy should give us concern. We should be worried that why we left the military about 20-something years ago. We know those of us who were at least young enough to know what happened during the Abacha era. I don't think we may want to go back there.
But we are seeing a lot of pensions. You talked about leadership. Indeed, Africa has leadership problem. But then you look at it, this military come in the form of like, hey, we're going to be your savior. Right now, looking through Africa, countries that are under military rule as of late 2025 include Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, Chad, Sudan, Guinea, Gabon, Guinea-Bissau, Madagascar, etc. They come under the guise like, okay, bad leadership. We are going to ensure that things go on very well. A typical case was in Burkina Faso when, the other guy, forgetting his name, took over. And then shortly after, this guy, who is now presently in power, he's very popular. Why am I forgetting his name and all of that? Anyway, he took over shortly 6 months. So we saw a coup and another counter coup. But still, what they are grappling with in terms of insecurity, in terms of the economy, is still obviously there. So, military taking over, there is no guarantee that things will change. It's just rhetorics.
Things will even be worse.
Things get worse.
Will even be worse because they don't have the reach that the civilian people have. The people you make your colleagues, military administrators, they are ministers. You don't even look at some level of merits. In this government, you can say, okay, even though the economy is struggling, but it's being run by some good economists. Okay, but at the end of the day, in the military, you don't have those options. And you cannot complain. Those are some of the challenges that we have in military rule. So nobody should encourage military rule. But we should also not encourage bad governance on the part of our civilian leaders who are creating room for the military to even think they can do better. Because there are civilians now who feel that the president is not doing well, their governors are not doing well, and all of that. And all they need to do is to go and contest election. We also need to make sure that the electoral process is credible. It's a challenge to the National Assembly because as of today, we don't have an amended electoral act. We had an electoral act in 2023 that was very flawed. Up to now, the National Assembly has not done anything about that. Those are the things that make people feel that credible change is not possible. that you cannot conduct a free, fair, and credible election. And that is why people are trying to see how they can sabotage the government in one way or the other, either by military or calling for a revolution. Because we've seen people like Omoyele Sowore saying that without revolution, Nigeria cannot be better. We've had revolution in a country like Ghana, where most of their leaders were killed. Where is Ghana today? Anybody can say they are doing better than Nigeria. I don't think they are far ahead of us. So I don't see anything really happening.
The economy,
good in Ghana.
inflation rate is, my God.
Yeah,
it's something else.
I don't think anything really good is happening in Ghana. So let's not deceive ourselves. Africa generally, apart from the North African countries and probably South Africa, most of the countries in Africa, especially in West Africa, they are not doing well. And it's because of bad leadership. It's because of greed. Only one person wants to keep hundreds of billions. What are you keeping it for? We see people at 80, at 70, they have billions in their account. What are you keeping it for? How many years are you still going to live? We don't have conscience. We don't have the fear of God. And these are the people that are in public places. These are the people that still have that greed that want to govern. Those are the challenges we are facing. And that is why you see the military, because they are suffering. Go to the barracks. They are very dirty place.
Dirty, unkempt, housing poor, everything.
So there is no standard. There's nothing that is happening. You put money into that for them to renovate the barracks. Somebody will embezzle it. Look at the police vehicles on the road. They arrest you, and their vehicles the most tattered you ever see. The police vehicles are the worst vehicles you see on the road in Nigeria, okay? And these are people who are supposed to keep the law to make sure your own vehicle is healthy. So those are the challenges that we face, because nobody give them money for maintenance. Nobody even give them money for fueling. They stay on the road to extort money from people to go and buy fuel into their car. These are the things that are making people to feel that not because the military want to govern, they want to eat their own part of the national cake. They want to come and take the money. They want to come and make sure that they can build mansions and make sure they buy yachts and things like that and build 5-star hotels. That's what they want to do, not because they want to make life better.
But let's look at some real life things, happening within the military caused by the democratic people or the so-called politicians. In the last administration and even in this administration, we've had rumors where they now pick a junior officer and promote him ahead. And when that happens, a large number of the seniors have to somehow, be retired. And that causes a lot of disaffection, because at the end of the day, you cut short someone's career and stuff like that. So people who are that disgruntled, you can see that you've exposed them or you've made them to get to that point where they'll be willing to do anything to topple such administration that has brought about injustice to them as they perceive.
That is why we're saying this democracy is not working, because that should be a wake-up call for the National Assembly. We have a system in the judiciary, most especially the Supreme Court, that when the outgoing Chief Justice of Nigeria is retiring, the most senior Chief Justice on the bench takes over, as even if he has 1 month left, he becomes the next Chief Justice. We've had that consistently since the days of Mohammed Weiss, and it has always been like that when one is going, even though the president might not be comfortable with who is going to take over, the most senior justice will still become the next Chief Justice of Nigeria. We can have that system in the military, where if a Chief of Army Staff is going, the most senior Chief of Army Staff should become the next Chief of Army. The most senior general in the Army should become the next Chief of Army Staff. That can be applicable to the Air Force and the Navy. And even the police. It's still the same thing, because you go and pick an AIG and make him the Inspector General of Police. That means all the DIGs must retire. Indeed. Because that is the order in the military or in the paramilitary. You don't have that in the civil service. That is why you can pick somebody who is junior officer and make him a PAMSEC or whatever. The others don't have to retire as long as they have not attained the age of retirement. But in the military and the paramilitary, we have a different system. And that should make the National Assembly enact a law to protect the serving officers, because we invest a lot of money in training these people. We have a lot of generals who did not put in 35 years of service and they are not 60 years of age, who we have trained and they are now redundant. They are doing nothing at home and we are having insecurity up and down because you now bring somebody that is called from course 41 to become the chief of army staff when course 39 is still in service. Why don't you pick somebody from course 39? So you have to retire everybody from course 39 and course 40 so that he can become chief of... Those are the challenges. Yeah. But I think in democracy, we have a remedy. We have a National Assembly because even if you appoint a chief of army staff or the service chiefs, you still need to go back to the National Assembly for approval. And because of that, the National Assembly can enact a law to protect the servicemen so that when a senior officer is going, the most senior person can take over. Even if you don't have to jump a complete course to wipe out one set completely because you want to bring your former ADC as IGP or you want to bring somebody you have a personal relationship with as a chief of army staff. Indeed. I believe whoever, regardless his religion, regardless his tribe, that you make chief of army staff, you make a service chief in Nigeria, will be loyal to the president unless if the condition of service is not right. If not, we've seen people from the north who have betrayed the 2023 general election. The people that have insisted that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu must contest and become president, are they not northerners? Yeah, mostly northerners. The governors who stood their ground, the air those who went to court during cashless policy, insisted that there must be naira in circulation, they are mostly northerners. Not because they were fighting for Tinubu, they were fighting because of what they can get for themselves. Unfortunately, some of them were disappointed anyway. But again, that is how it works. You need to work with people. You need to it's interests. You need to take care of other people's interests. You need to take care of the interests of the professors in the classroom, the clergies on the pulpit. You need to take care of everybody's interest. That is what it takes to be a leader. You don't have to make sure that it's within your own circle that people benefit. It's not only Lagos boys that you have to service if you're there in that position. Indeed. That is the challenge people are facing right now, and that is what the president needs to address. Because if we don't have that, of course, this one, they found them out. That does not mean it will always be like that. And we don't pray there is a military coup in Nigeria because it's definitely several steps backward. Indeed.
All right, let's begin to take your comments and your thoughts on the stories taken so far. We've looked at the ADC Secretary, Aregbesola, who has assured the APC that governors defecting is not necessarily a guarantee for victory in 2027. I don't know if you agree with that or you think it's just a man who is afraid or intimidated. And then also looking at the fact that the Nigerian military has finally come out to admit that there is a coup and intensive or, in-depth investigation has been carried out and appropriate punitive measures will be taken. Well, that is the story we looked at so far. So you can call in on 0700-951-0000 and 08095974869. 08099930137. Let's have your thoughts. Let's have your opinion and make it short and straight to the point. Hello. Okay. Sorry, that didn't stay. You can call back. Let me also mix it up with the messages as I'm taking the calls. Talking about the coup, since we have decided to be describing coup based on ethnicity, is this a Yoruba, Igbo, Fulani, or Hausa coup? I'm just asking for the tribe of the land of the rising sun. Daddy Shinamai from Gida Mangoro. Okay, thank you. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Adiola Victor from Victor Lagi.
Okay.
I align myself with your guest in the studio that military coup intervention is no more fashionable, especially in Nigeria. It's very unfortunate that these people went for a suicide mission and they must have to face the consequences. We never go back to the dark days of military intervention as experienced during Abacha and Babangida, who messed up this country. So, if you want to change this government, let us change it through a democratic election, not through the ballot of God. Because if we think that we want to remove this government through the ballot, it will continue to fail. The other time, I listened to some people through the social media. They are calling on Trump to come and bomb our Villa, to come and remove our president. It will never happen. If it happens in Venezuela, it will not happen in Nigeria. If you are not comfortable with this government, because of the harsh and unfair economic, Let us wait for the next election.
All right.
And beyond that, let to put in place a trusted